Every single day, it seems more and more likely that the governments of the globe know more about UFOs, UAPs, and aliens than they're telling the public. And if this is true, and they want to keep it all under wraps, well then, they're going to need a secret base. And lucky for us, there appears to be a whole lot of them. Here are 5 secret alien bases hidden around the world. Number 5. The Caves of the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon is one of the world's most breathtaking natural wonders. Carved out over millions of years by the force of the Colorado River, its towering cliffs and vast chasms draw millions of tourists every single year. But beyond its beauty lies a mystery that few have heard about, and it is that hidden deep within its ancient rock, while some claim there are secret bases and underground facilities where inside, they're up to some pretty weird stuff. But before we get into that, I know what you're thinking. Why would any sort of facility looking to keep secrets set up shop where so many people visit? Well, for one, you have to understand just how large the Grand Canyon is. It's 277 miles long and up to 18 miles wide, covering more than 1.2 million acres. It's called Grand for a reason, and to put those numbers into perspective, it's larger than the state of Rhode Island, and the public gets access to less than 1% of it. There's also estimated to be between 1,000 to 2,500 caves here, but no one knows for sure because it hasn't been fully explored, at least not officially. And the other reason as to why a shop might be set up here is that it appears like whoever's inside didn't necessarily choose the Grand Canyon, but the other way around. The canyon chose them. In 1909, the Arizona Gazette published an article that still stirs controversy today. The piece described an expedition led by an explorer named G.E. Kincaid, who along with the Smithsonian allegedly discovered an underground city within the Grand Canyon. He wrote down everything he saw in detail and stated, "The main passageway is about 12 feet wide, narrowing to 9 feet towards the farther end. About 57 feet from the entrance, the first side passages branch off to the right and left, along which on both sides are a number of rooms about the size of ordinary living rooms today, though some are 30 by 40 feet square." He goes on, but according to the report, the cavern held artifacts, strange items that were distinctly non-Native American in origin, and walls covered in hieroglyphics resembling those from ancient Egypt or even Tibet. In other words, they had come from a lost and highly advanced civilization. Kincaid knew he needed help in digging in further, and this was the craziest find maybe ever. But when he came out, that was sort of the end of it. He was never allowed back. The Smithsonian and whoever else they had connections with then actively suppressed evidence of this discovery. As to what they did with it, well, that's where we get the idea that there's stuff going on there today. Fast forward to more recent times, and numerous hikers and tourists have reported strange sightings, from mysterious lights moving erratically over the canyon to eerie sounds emanating from its depths. Many witnesses describe glowing orbs that seem to emerge from the canyon itself. Others have spoken of sudden drops in temperature, coupled with an overwhelming sense of unease, as if they were being watched. Some have even ventured into places unknown by most, at which point they claim to have had military personnel and unmarked helicopters descend upon them in a threatening manner until they left. Others have said they've come across signs that are officially listed as restricted, out in the middle of the canyon. Now why would that be? This rock isn't going anywhere, and why can't people walk along it? Former military insiders and whistleblowers say the Grand Canyon is home to at least one hidden installation that they know of. They describe it as a network of subterranean tunnels, some of which are said to connect to other secret facilities across the southwestern U.S. And it's not just UFOs that they're tracking from within, it's also strange electromagnetic anomalies and unexplainable energy surges they're interested in. One theory as to why this place is so special in that way is because of the Grand Canyon's unusual geology. Its massive deposits of quartz and other minerals could play a role in attracting these strange phenomena. Quartz is known for its piezoelectric properties, which means it can generate an electric charge under pressure. And perhaps these geological formations may act as a natural beacon for UFOs, or is why the ancient civilization was here in the first place. And the military may have found a way to harness this energy, using it to power their bases or even advance technology beyond our comprehension, and just like the people did before them. Number 4. Pine Gap, Australia's Area 51. If you look at a map of Australia, pretty much right in the middle of the continent, there's nothing but outback as far as the eye can see. No real towns or attractions to account for, nothing but endless stretches of red sand and short brush. Which begs the question, why would anyone build anything out there, let alone a giant government base? Well, to do secretive things, of course. Tucked away right there in the red center of the land down under is a government facility called Pine Gap. Because of its location, among many other odd things, this joint Australian-American installation has earned the nickname of Australia's Area 51. But while Area 51 is synonymous with mystery in the States, well, Pine Gap might actually be even stranger. Now officially, Pine Gap is listed as a satellite surveillance base, another cog in the machinery of global intelligence gathering. Founded in 1970, the landscape that the main facility is located on is dotted with giant radar domes. The CIA, NSA, and other clandestine branches of the U.S. defense apparatus use it to gain intelligence, intercepting communications across vast areas of the globe. But the truth is, its purpose is far more complicated and potentially much more unsettling. Over the years, numerous eyewitnesses have reported strange lights hovering over the base. Bright orbs, erratic flashes, and metallic crafts gliding in ways that defy the laws of physics as we know them. Many locals in Alice Springs, which sits around 11 miles away, have shared encounters that they can't explain. But each time, it just becomes a blip on the news radar. A story that gets buried and then everyone moves on with their lives. And yes, there are videos of lights streaking across the skies above that people have captured. But have you ever seen them or even heard of this area? In the late 1980s, reports of such sightings really reached their peak. Multiple witnesses, including truckers traveling through the outback and even a few former base employees, claimed to see UFOs, but not just distant lights, but structured crafts moving in and out of the vicinity of Pine Gap. One local who'd worked as a maintenance contractor on the base described what he saw as a metallic saucer, smooth and seamless, as if the materials itself were alive. It hovered over the facility for a few moments before making a near instantaneous vertical ascent, then vanishing into the sky. Some people believe that, yeah, this most certainly is a surveillance hub, but one that surveils far beyond our globe. That this place is a secretive hub where unidentified flying objects are tracked, studied, and perhaps even reverse engineered. According to leaked documents, Pine Gap is equipped with advanced radar systems capable of tracking not only satellites but also unconventional aerial phenomena, whatever that means. Over the years, individuals who once had high-level clearance here have suggested the facility houses subterranean levels, and prominent Australian UFO researcher Bill Chalker has shared accounts from former employees who spoke of restricted areas within Pine Gap, sections of the facility that even high-clearance personnel couldn't enter. These restricted zones, according to whistleblowers, were rumored to house technology brought from the United States, items that defied typical military categorization. And this place also has a direct link to the Oz Files, Australia's own collection of declassified UFO reports. In 2013, the Australian government released hundreds of documents detailing UFO sightings from across the country. Interestingly, several of these reports mention lights and phenomena over Central Australia, coincidentally near Pine Gap. And so, is all that merely a coincidence, and our imaginations have been running wild about a government facility in the middle of nowhere? Or is Pine Gap some sort of hub full of technologies us civilians not supposed to know about? Number 3. Hangar 18. Part of the sprawling Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, Hangar 18 is said to be a secret repository for extraterrestrial materials and evidence. And personally, I first heard about this place from a retired Air Force pilot who mentioned he didn't have any first-hand experience here, but that a lot of the people he worked with had told some strange stories about that place. To understand the allure of Hangar 18, you really have to go back to the summer of 1947, when the small town of Roswell, New Mexico became the epicenter of their famous UFO mystery. The military initially announced they had recovered a flying disc, a statement that was almost immediately retracted, changing the narrative to a mundane weather balloon. But the damage was done, and the public's imagination had been ignited. According to numerous reports over the years, the wreckage of that mysterious crash, along with its otherworldly occupants, wasn't simply lost to time. Instead, it was said to have been transported halfway across the country to Ohio to Hangar 18. Ever since then, Hangar 18, which is also sometimes called the Blue Room, has allegedly become the vault for not only the Roswell wreckage, but also various other UFO debris that's been collected by the U.S. military over the years. An alien warehouse, if you will. And the way we know this is that many witnesses, including former military personnel and pilots who have worked or passed through Wright-Patterson, have come forward claiming they saw some weird things happening at the base. Stuff including metallic fragments with strange hieroglyphic-like markings, entire crafts suspended in secrecy, and even biological aliens.
And then the one where they brought the two men into Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and put them in the icebox because nobody was allowed to see it. And he called them little green men. Then he described them as a greenish blue.
Now, one or two claims might easily be dismissed, but the sheer number of testimonies from people who seem to have no agenda other than telling the truth suggests that there might be something more to Hangar 18 than the government wants the public to know. For example, according to Captain Oliver Henderson's widow, he confessed to transporting wreckage and alien bodies from Roswell up to Wright-Patterson. And Senator Barry Goldwater, who was a major general in the Air Force before becoming a senator, publicly acknowledged his attempts to gain access to the so-called Blue Room, though he was turned away, allegedly told in no uncertain terms that whatever lay inside was classified, was far above his clearance level. The reason they call it the Blue Room is because they have multiple cryogenic storage units that emit a bluish hue. And the reason they have those in there is because that's what they store all the alien bodies in. Over the decades, there have also been a significant number of unexplained sightings around the base itself. Ask the residents nearby, almost all of them have a story about glowing orbs, strange aircrafts, and bizarre electromagnetic disturbances. And for those who believe Hangar 18 is where the government not only hides aliens and their technology, but also works to reverse engineer it, pushing the boundaries of what we think is even possible. The U.S. government, of course, has consistently denied all the allegations. According to the official statements, there's nothing extraordinary at Wright-Patterson, certainly nothing involving extraterrestrials. The Air Force has labeled the stories as pure myth, but when you dig into the history of the base, it's hard not to find the denials a little too convenient. Why has there been such tight security for decades? Why do credible people, military officers, engineers, and politicians, insist they've been denied access to parts of the base or seen something? And why do so many believe that Hangar 18 could be holding some secrets that would fundamentally alter our perception of humanity's place in the cosmos? And perhaps because it's true. Number 2. The RAF Staffordshire. On the outside, RAF Staffordshire in the United Kingdom was a base used for routine military operations, supplying equipment and support to Britain's armed forces. It was really nothing special. However, above and around it come some of the most bizarre concentrations of UAP activity in the entire world. It would take one determined FOIA request to eventually unlock the secrets, but eventually it exposed a pattern of sightings that spans decades, and all of them are connected to RAF Staffordshire. While sightings happened often enough, the real inciting incident to this whole mystery started on August 24th of 1995. That evening, a group of servicemen stationed at the base reported seeing a triangular craft silently gliding across the night sky. According to the official reports, the object had no visible means of propulsion and moved without a sound. Witnesses described it as being nearly the size of a commercial airliner, with 3 bright lights at each corner. It hovered over the base for several minutes, allowing plenty of time for multiple people to observe it. The strangest part of all was that while they were literally looking at it, the base's radar showed absolutely nothing in the sky. Another major report from February of 2003 tells of an object that seemed to shadow a military convoy making its way along a nearby road. The convoy, carrying sensitive equipment, was on a routine route when drivers and personnel started noticing a glowing orb following them, darting in and out of view behind the treetops. Attempts to communicate what they were seeing with the base yielded no answers. Staffordshire's control tower had nothing on their screens once again, and no idea what the convoy was even talking about. And then there's the Staffordshire Flash, an event that happened in April 2011. Multiple eyewitnesses, and this time both military and civilian, reported seeing what can only be described as a burst of blinding blue light over the base, followed by a high-pitched vibrating noise. When the light was visible for miles, residents began to call emergency services, thinking there had been an explosion. However, by the time responders arrived, there was nothing to find. No fires, no damage. In regards to this, the military base's official statement was that the event was a meteorological anomaly. Now, these were just a few incidents of many. The amount of sightings were enough to warrant a FOIA request from several people to get the information about what was going on declassified. It took some time, but eventually they got it, and amazingly, the files contain reports of no less than 78 incidents between 1990 and 2013. Sightings of unknown crafts, strange lights, and objects appearing to interact with military aircrafts. Many of these reports were stamped unexplained and quietly filed away, leaving the public completely unaware of the phenomena happening in their own backyards. And some witnesses even claimed that personnel were explicitly told not to discuss what they had seen under threat of disciplinary action. The deeper you dig into this place and the RAF Staffordshire files, the more unsettling the picture becomes. You have to ask, why were there so many UFO sightings focused on this one area of the country? And was it a coincidence, or did the Staffordshire have something to do with them? Unfortunately, while there are many eyewitness accounts, photos, and even video footage, the Staffordshire files don't give us any definitive answers as to what these things are or why they were here. But what they do show us is that the official story, the one that says UAPs are nothing but misidentified planes, weather balloons, or overactive imaginations, it simply doesn't add up. Number 1. UFO Complex of the Great White North. In Newfoundland, amidst the often brutal elements of Canada's easternmost province, there lies a condemned iron mine that some claim is far more active than it appears to be. The old iron mines here, which have long been abandoned according to many, are more than just relics of Canada's industrious past. Ufologists, conspiracy theorists, and even local folklore all converge on the idea that they actually could be a key part of an underground network. a series of UFO complexes scattered across the entire Great White North. Originally, back in the early 1900s, these mines were booming, and they played a vital role in Canada's economy, with countless workers toiling underground for ore. But as the decades passed, the mines were slowly abandoned, and the iron deposits largely exhausted. The towns that grew around them either dwindled or disappeared completely, and that's where the conventional story ends and the strange one begins. And as the theory goes, in the late 1970s, when UFO sightings were peaking around the world, an unusual uptick in strange activity was reported around these abandoned Newfoundland mines. The fishermen along the Labrador coast spoke of strange lights coming from the cliffs at night. A few hikers reported having their compasses go haywire in the area, as well as hearing bizarre mechanical noises coming from the supposedly condemned tunnels, noises that sounded anything but abandoned. One particular testimony as to why people are questioning the real purpose of this location comes from two young brothers who entered the mine back in 1993, equipped with nothing but a flashlight and the desire to do something to pass the time. They had heard the rumors, of course, and wanted to do a little amateur investigation. They walked into one of the open shafts, past old rusted-out rails and bins, and headed down into the darkness. While most people would have turned around at some point just out of sheer exhaustion, they had nothing better to do and kept moving on. Left here or right there, and at some point they stumbled upon a large metal door at the end of a shaft. Only this one didn't look like anything from the mine's original construction. It was pristine, reflective, and almost humming with energy, as if whatever was going on behind the other side was very much alive and functioning. When they tried to open it, the flashlight flickered, and they claimed to have heard a low voice that seemed to echo from the very rock around them, urging them to leave immediately. And they took that warning seriously and ran out as fast as they could. But ever since that night, they've both sworn that they weren't alone in those tunnels. And they described a feeling of being watched and even pursued out of the mine. But by what exactly, they could never say. They reported their findings to the local authorities, but these were kids, so it was brushed off as a prank. And there was no way the police were going to wander down there looking for this door, especially when the boys couldn't even say exactly how they got to it in the first place. Interestingly, though, within weeks, fences went up around the mine, barring any further entry. A deeper look into the history of the area reveals even more strange occurrences. During World War II, several Allied ships reported unidentified aerial phenomena while passing near Newfoundland's coast. Crafts that could move at unimaginable speeds and disappear into the Atlantic without a trace. The isolated landscape certainly makes it a perfect location for hidden installations. The cold, remote expanses of the area are ideal for hiding things, whether that's experimental technology, extraterrestrial crafts, or something even more unthinkable. So there were 5 secret alien bases hidden around the world. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Hope you all enjoyed it and that you have a great day out there. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next one.